Welcome, everyone, to our Resilient, Wild, and Unstoppable interview series. And it has been a while. So make sure that you are commenting, getting to know those that are being interviewed, and connect with them. That's what we are here for, is to really build those connections, those relationships, and really be inspired by those that are stepping up to the mic and sharing their wealth of knowledge and information. And today we have Carlene. Now, Carlene is really relatively new in my world, but she already sounds fascinating in the few minutes that we've talked. So, curious, Carlene, what got you, who are you and what got you on this journey, this path that you are currently on today?
Oh. Um, so who am I? I'm Carlene. I'm in Northern California, although I travel all over the place. I'm the modern day medicine woman, and I combine science and um, the mystic and shamanic practices all together to help people heal and come home to themselves. I work with different shamanic backgrounds in Druidism and Celtic traditions, as well as a little bit of Mayan and Native American thrown in there. And then in somatics and the science of breath work, I work a lot with the breath as well, to regulate the nervous system, and to help heal the body, mind, and spirit. And to answer how I got here is a pretty long um, way of getting to this space. It wasn't one that I chose or went after. It just happened over a series of events through many years of my own healing. I originally was a photographer for almost 20 years.
Wow.
Uh, yeah, I was specializing in fine art and boudoir. You know what boudoir photography is? Bedroom.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and at the same time, I've always loved portraits. I've always loved photography and capturing people and helping people um, heal from the inside out through photography, which is such a odd way of saying that. I think when we're photographing, it's about the outside, but I found a way to make it internal. And about 8 years ago, I was at a not a standstill, but I was in a place of disconnect with myself, with photography, and with my woo, if you will. I was keeping my spiritual self somewhat in the closet and keeping my professional photography life over here. And I wasn't liking that. I was doing all this work to help women heal their bodies and heal their insides, but we're still giving these portraits to somebody else. And this idea of lusting. And so I went on a pause, and I literally laid on the floor for a long time, many days, trying to figure out, what am I doing? What am I doing?
Wow.
Yeah. And then solography came to me, which I'll get to that in a second. But solography came to me, whereas what happens if I take um, these two parts of myself and put them together, the spiritual and the photography, and what happens when we combine them? What happens if I bring meditation? What happens if I bring breath work and all these things I've been keeping quiet to the photography space? And that's where solography was born. And so what I was doing was actually a lot of internal work while photographing somebody, because the majority of people, when you pull out a camera, they freeze, they get really nervous or scared.
Mm-hmm.
And then what does solography have to do with the modern day medicine woman? um, about 4 years ago, I decided to put solography on hold because I was doing more work in the internal space, more work with the shamanic, with the divine, and I really wanted to explore what happens if I dive further into these gifts, and that solography and photography is like my firstborn child, but I'm allowed to put that on the back burner, and I'm allowed to say, you know what, I want to explore this. And
Mm-hmm.
so that's what I've been doing the last 4 years, is diving into the modern day medicine woman. And how I came up with that is, another people kept asking, what do you do? What is this? What is breath work? What are you? And I kept saying, well, I'm kind of like a modern day medicine woman. And I said it so many times, they just said, okay, I'm going to claim it. And that was a whole journey in itself, because um, I don't know that I chose the shamanic path or the healing path or this. It kind of landed in my lap over a course of years outside of what was going on with solography and where I've landed in healing my own body and finding elders to work with. It kind of just fell here, and I said okay to God, to the universe. you know.
Yeah, I've never one heard of solography. So it's like, oh, that's a new word.
Hmm.
Also with shamanic work, it's become very, it's become more
Yes.
popular, and yet there are still a lot of people that don't fully understand what that is. Is there an easy in English definition that you could provide to help kind of pull back the curtain of what that shamanic work is?
Yes. For me, it's almost as if a shaman or a shamanic working in shamanic practice is somebody who is a bridge between worlds, between the physical world and the spiritual world, and also the energetics of that. So, like working with the mind, body, and spirit. And I say and spirit because there's the spirit self, the soul self.
Mhm.
And a shaman or working in shamanic practices, you kind of are the bridge between the worlds to the person that you're working with. And also with self, there's many things I had to go through within my own journey of experiencing gifts or experiencing journeys, working with the ethers, working with the spirits, that everything that's alive has spirit. Plants are alive, plants have energies, plants, we can work with them in so many ways, as well as animals. Animals have
Mhm.
spirits, they all have their own way of communicating. And so do people who have are passed on, our loved ones who've gone to the other side. And a shaman is really a person who allows their bodies to be a vessel and a bridge between those worlds. Um,
That's awesome. And I'm curious with the shamanic work, with the breath work, with the nervous system and the solography, if there's a specific type of client that comes into your world, or specific challenges
mhm.
that you enjoy working with, or that is your best client.
Yeah, so I do have male clients, but I specifically work with women. And reclamation comes up a lot. And what is that? It's reclaiming something within self, whether that's the voice, whether that's the womb, whether that's trauma, things from childhood. I work a lot with people and women in inner child work, and in reclaiming things that have happened in life, and reclaiming the voice. Vocal work comes up a lot. Um, and I specialize as well as in womb work. So I work a lot with the womb, which is where my Mayan practices come in. I've been training with Mayan midwives in Guatemala for the last 4 years in Mayan abdominal massage. Um, so working a lot with the womb and the voice together to help people really heal the body, but come back to themselves and reclaim their lives and who they are.
So when you say you travel a lot, you're
Yes.
traveling.
Mm. Yeah.
That's
Yes.
awesome. Oh my gosh, that work sounds so powerful. And I've only myself tapped into it because I ignored that spiritual side for so long. And
Like so
then
many
I
of
kept
us have.
knocking, going, hello, when you gonna let me in?
Hmm. Yes, exactly. And it gets to the point where you're like, okay, I can't ignore anymore. I'm here, I'll listen.
Right, right. Here, let me just throw this in your path. Can you
Yeah,
hear me now?
exactly.
So I totally get that. So if you were to offer three or four super tips for our audience, just based on your knowledge and experience, what would those be?
Super tips in terms of what? Excuse me.
Whatever, that work that you do, that energy that you bring, that even if it's, not one thing that just comes up because of the fact that I just said I had spirit knocking on the door saying,
Yeah.
hello, here I am. But it's really those super tips in life based on your own experiences.
For me, I think it's A tip, the number one thing I have learned throughout just being in life is the authenticity that I know it can be scary to show up in who we are in our weird, wild, messy selves, but showing up in truth is going to bring so many more gifts than it does if we hide. And what I mean by that is um, I think we live in a society and a culture that says that the dark spaces or the sides of ourselves that we don't like we shouldn't explore. And what I have found that in the messy, in the wild, and in those places we don't necessarily like to go, our greatest gifts lie, and in the darkness is really where the light is. Um, and so when we allow ourselves to go into the intimate spaces or the scary spaces or showing up in who we are, coming out of the spiritual closet or coming out and whatever that is for you. Um, that once you choose self, the things begin to unfold and light really does show up in many beautiful ways in those spaces.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Anything else with regards to those super tip? That super tip alone is powerful.
Yes.
Um,
And
yeah,
I would say nervous system work. Nervous system, regulating your nervous system is going to be your best friend, whether that's through humming or, small breath works or meditation or activating your voice. That actually your own voice can calm down your nervous system, the vagus nerve, which runs through the side of your neck. So singing, making sound, humming, screaming, all of those things can calm down the nervous system. And if you really want to get into activating it or calming it down, it'll change your life, whether you have stress, pain, or other ailments happening. That nervous system regulation, I think, is really the key to finding calm in
yeah,
our crazy world.
yeah. The nervous system, and then the other thing that you mentioned previously was the power of the voice
Hmm.
and voice work, because so
Yes.
many of us were shut down as kids and having our voice shut down, and really giving ourselves permission to utilize that voice, I
Mhm.
think is so valuable in our world today.
Yes, I think so too, and so valuable, and I also know that there can be fear in it. But once we push through, I always say do it scared or do it shaking. I run women's circles, and for a long time, I cried through a lot of them in the beginning because I was so terrified to speak.
Mm.
But it does stop. The shakiness goes away after a while, and we reclaim that voice as power. But so I understand the vocal expression well.
Yes, through that lived experience.
Hmm.
Any last words before we end this recording today?
um, just gratitude. Thank you for having me. And yeah, I just encourage people to show up in who they are and whatever that looks like for them, and to not be afraid to stand in light and stand in your gifts, because we're at a time when the world needs it most. Needs each of us to show up in who we are and connect as a collective right now.
Awesome. Thank you so much for joining me today and out there shining your light, Carlene.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.